You can find us every week on RTÉ.ie, YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and wherever you get your podcasts. Timestamps in the same place as well, on the RTÉ website, on the episode page every week, and also in the description box under every video on YouTube. And for example, later on today, I'll be joined by Richie Towell and Barry Murphy to talk about the LOI, the League of Ireland sides in Europe, and also to reflect back on Ireland versus Armenia and many other things in between as well. But right now, I am joined by Rachel Graham in studio and Méabh de Búrca on Zoom. Méabh, how are you?
Yeah, all good, thanks. Had a good cup final yesterday, so can't complain.
Good stuff. And Rachel, yourself, you were there on RTÉ duty as well, so how did you find it?
I was there. Look, it was hard to be there. We've obviously been there in the last couple of finals playing, so it was a bit hard to be there as a spectator, I won't lie.
I don't think it was even a couple. It's like four seasons in a row. So obviously it would have felt weird not being on the pitch, I imagine. But of course, the end result was that Athlone Town won 3-2 against Bohemians, and they have sealed the double. And Kelly Brady was really the story of the game in terms of scoring a hat-trick. So let's just listen to her. She was speaking to Adrian Eames.
With me is the hat-trick hero, Kelly Brady. Kelly, remarkable performance from you and from the team.
Thank you so much. I mean, I'm so proud of this team, so proud to be a part of what we've done this year. So I'm so excited.
And a hat-trick in a cup final, as I mentioned. Family here, you've got a mother from Kinvara, dad from Castleblaney.
Yes.
Are they here?
Yes, they are. They're up in the crowd there. I'm waving out to them right now. I'm so happy they could make it, and I'm glad I could score a hat-trick in front of them, Carla Ward, the manager of Ireland. So
Carla Ward was watching, the Irish manager.
Yeah.
You're training with the squad this week. You have to be in the squad after that, surely.
I hope so. I mean, I'm training. I'll go out there and I'll put in my best efforts. I'm glad to finally get around the girls, and that's all I could ask for.
Enjoy the moment.
Thank you so much.
All right, so that is Athlone Town striker Kelly Brady, who scored a hat-trick in the final at Tallaght Stadium yesterday. But Rachel, I suppose the beginning of the game, Athlone had to kind of work for it because Bow started brilliantly.
Yeah, they were definitely the team on top. They came out out of the traps flying, and look, that's probably, being your first cup final, you're just raring to go, and that's exactly what happened. And they got off to the dream start. I mean, and what a goal as well. It was a brilliant finish from Alana McAvoy, and I think all the goals in the game were really good, but look, a dream start for them. And they were really good at the start, but probably Athlone maybe came into it a bit more then and showed the quality and showed the difference and got themselves back on top. And look, obviously went on 3-1 up then eventually, and you probably feared for the time that maybe they're going to get a fourth or a fifth, and it could be a repeat of last year's. But in fairness, Bows, they're not a team who give up easily, and fought so hard. And young Ava Brennan then with another probably even better goal again to get back to 3-2 and put pressure on Athlone for the last 20 minutes. But look, that's where Athlone showed the other side of their game. They've obviously really good going forward. Kelly Brady have scored tons of goals, but they can also defend the other goal when they need to as well. Yeah,
and Méabh, in terms of turning the game, once Bows took that lead with Alana McAvoy, that left side of the pitch, that seemed to be the most decisive part in the remainder of that first half.
Yeah, it really did.
The combination for Athlone of Shauna Brennan at left back and Maddie Gibson at left wing has been really something great to watch all season. Really, they've been combining. I was looking up stats, and they get more crosses into the box from their left side than they do from the right, even, which is unusual considering most people are right-footed or dominant on the right side anyway. But yeah, there's a smashing first ball in from Shauna Brennan, and then probably an even better ball in from Maddie Gibson for the two headers from Kelly Brady. Maybe Bows will be slightly disappointed, I think, in terms of they would have known how the threat that Brady holds, and not to have been marking her a little bit tighter, probably slightly disappointed from their side maybe. But yeah, like Rachel said, kind of Athlone's quality I think came to the fore then, in order that they got back into the game and back then on top to 3-1 as well.
Yeah, and Kelly Brady's movement, I think, was immense as well, because there is obviously, as Méabh said there, the marking maybe could have been better, but again, there's another side to that story where she's able to find that space for herself, and it's no coincidence.
Yeah, look, it's obviously a lot easier said than done, but you would be really disappointed that, the first goal, it's a header, she's free in the box, and then the second one, as you see that ball coming in, you need to think, where is Kelly Brady? She's a danger player, and again, pretty much a free header, but look, she's not a player that's overly involved in the play, or she drops in sometimes, but she doesn't get it and turn and run at player. She's not that kind of player. She's happy for the rest of the team to build up, and she's just in the box waiting on that ball. And even the third goal she got, she's just forced to pounce on a deflection shot by Maddie Gibson, and she's just forced there, beats the defender with ease, and then just puts it in the back of the net. So she's not overly wants to get herself involved or build up the play. She's just there to finish every attack.
Yeah, and something that Alban, he said, the Bohemians manager, Méabh, that he mentioned afterwards, was the lack of experience that maybe counted against his side. So he told TG Carr, you missed that detail because of inexperience. And did that come across to you as well?
Yeah, I think so. You could almost see not frustration in the way he's talking, but they'd obviously trained on it. You could tell that they had done it in training, because obviously the goals were very predictable, in terms of predictable, as in that's how Athlone have been scoring a lot of goals. That's what they do. They get the ball wide to Gibson and Malloy in the wings, and they cross it into Brady. It's fairly like predictable from that point of view, and like that, I think it may be slightly frustrating from his point of view, because it's not like they opened Bose up in an unusual way. It was something that they've been doing all season, and maybe like that, had they just had a bit more experience and and that type of thing. Their midfield, like of Hannah Healy and Ava Brennan, both only 17, although Healy has played in cup finals before. At the same time, still very, very young kids, really. So from that point of view, yeah, Bose having got there, I'd say they'll be disappointed in terms of not being able to come out with a win, but also I think they'll be happy enough in terms of their performance, like it was, and 2 smashing goals, like Rachel already said. I mean, one goal was better than the other, but the 2 were top drawer, really.
Yeah, and in terms of where Bows go next, obviously the league, they were a little less consistent, but the 2 cups that they've been involved in, hugely impressive in getting to finals in both. In terms of them pushing on to try and get to where you are, or where Athlone, or closer to where the likes of Athlone are, what do they need to do?
I think, for the league, like to win a league or to get high up the league, you just have to be consistent, and that's where Bows are probably wider in 7th position. And look, that comes with having such a young team. They're not brilliant every week. Sometimes they're 10 out of 10. Next week it could be a 5 out of 10. So that's what's hard about having a young and inexperienced team. It's the consistency that you need to go and win a league. But I think if you're them, you just kind of build on it, try and get a higher finish next year. Like cup final, can you go one further? Can you win the cup, win the All-Ireland Cup maybe, target that? But look, they're definitely going the right way. Obviously have really good young players that are only going to get better and better over the next couple of years, and probably a club now that can attract players in. Players they have at the moment have kind of all come from clubs where they weren't really getting into the 11, and look, they've proven that they are really good players, and if they're not in Shelbourne's 11 or Atlone's 11 or even Wexford's 11, they're still well able to compete in the league. So I think for them the consistency is the hard one, but again, that just comes with having such young players. Yeah,
and Maeve, for the other side, for Athlone, in terms of building a dynasty, they've already won 2 league titles in a row. They've now added another cup. I don't know how can you even really improve much on that, but again, I suppose the main thing for them will be, and it's a mantra that was mentioned after the game, trying to keep hold of this squad together.
Yeah, that's the crucial thing, really. I mean, I think there was 4 or 5 of their starting 11 were from Ireland or born in Ireland yesterday, and then only 2 of them were from Athlone. So in terms of that sense, the recruitment of the players, but the retention of the players is huge, and that could vary year to year. Often recruiting the players, especially from overseas, you're not sure always what you're getting. Maybe when you're familiar with them in terms of moving from one club to another within the league, you know what you're getting. But they've obviously recruited very well. But now it's a case of can they keep them? The likes of Maddie Gibson and obviously the keeper as well, Plasko, I think was hugely influential throughout the year. Even McNally in centre back, Hannah Resch in midfield. They're all throughout the spine of their team, like I said, centre back, centre goalie, centre back, centre mid, centre forward. They're all recruits in from abroad. So if you were to take those out of the team, like they did against Peamount, when they had their only loss of the season, you can see what a different team they are. So yeah, I think keeping those players on for next season will be, it's impossible really to predict how Athlone will do until you see their squad in pre-season.
Yeah, and in terms of the attendance, I suppose the final point on the final, Rachel, 3,608. Good or encouraging?
It's definitely, it's better than last year, but it was 2 years ago that we got over 5,000 at the game, and it's gone down since then. So in one way it's positive that it has improved from last year and the year before, but we're still kind of dropped below our highest attendance. So look, obviously the weather and stuff wasn't great. That might have turned a few people off, and in fairness, Bows brought a huge crowd with them, and obviously have a really good underage section at the moment. They seem to bring all of them. So look, it's positive in one way that it's going upwards, but it's still, we're a good bit off our peak attendance that we got 2 years ago. Yeah, and then some bits of news in regard to the league, and something you kind of forewarned me about, which was the extra places in Europe now, which is going to be great for the league. Now, it's not immediate, but it's a couple of years away now. Yeah, and look, we thought we were kind of maybe getting a crack at Europe for next year, but obviously wasn't the case. But look, it's huge for the league. It just shows how much it's grown since its start in 2011, and now we have, like, our teams that used to go away, it was always, it's a great occasion going, it's a great experience. We were never really going to compete, and that's changed in the last few years where teams are going now and they're wanting to progress, and Athlone obviously done really well this year, and thanks to them, Ireland will have 2 places in the league or in Europe for 2027. So look, it's huge in that way as well, but I just think domestically as well it's going to improve our league, because like we were saying a few weeks ago, like we only have a winner. We don't have any other there's nothing else to fight for, only to win the league, and this will now be a chance for fighting for second place. And even the likes of Wexford and Galway this year, probably with 5-6 games to go, they were out of the title race, but they would have still had, a race to try and compete for second place and get that European football. So it's just going to make our league more competitive as well. There's more to play for and get more eyes on the league, more publicity when these teams are playing abroad. And I find, sometimes this attracts players from abroad to come in. They seem to really want to play European football. So again, it's just going to probably bring more players into the league. But I just think domestically it's going to be huge for us.
Yeah, and something last week maybe that we talked about was managerial changes that will be coming in for the end of this season and the start of next season. Peamount, there is a change at the top, albeit half in terms of like a half of a change in a sense, given their managerial structure.
Yeah, Emma Donohoe, now she's going to finish up taking a break from football, but 21 years at Peamount, it's just phenomenal. Like, you don't see that kind of loyalty, I guess. Really, it's such a long section of her life, part of her life. She joined them firstly as a player and then went on to become a really important part, like I said, of the coaching staff there. And I think herself and Laura Heffernan were probably the first really to make that transition in the Women's Premier Division from being a player in the league and then to becoming part of the coaching staff, management team. So now by the looks of it, I think we can see that others are starting to follow. Obviously, Steph Zamro took the interim role at Rovers this past season, and then Laurie Ryan is going to be involved with Treaty next season too. But yeah, from Emma's perspective, I think she's been a really it'll be unusual. I think she'll be missed on the sidelines. She's just an integral part of the league, and hopefully we'll see her back in it sooner rather than later.
Yeah, and another end of an era as well, which is Megan Campbell retiring. And I know there's been a huge focus on long throws in recent seasons, but there was so much more to it, Maeve, I suppose, in terms of her versatility, even shown at the start of this year where Carla Ward decides to play her left centre back. It just shows her sort of understanding of the game.
Yeah, that's it, exactly. Like, I would have played with Megan a lot on the international team, and yeah, of course we talk about the weapon of the throw-in. It is a world record now, as we know, and it's phenomenal. But also, yeah, what a quality player she has been for Ireland through the years outside of that too. And like I said, she has that versatility, that wand of a left foot, really, just deliveries into the box. She can play, like I said, anywhere really, left side of centre back, left back too, and even at times further up the pitch too. But just I think she's been unlucky really with injuries. I think she would have been her caps total probably would have been a lot higher had she not been so unfortunate with injuries, and a lot of niggly injuries too, ones that would have kept her out. And even at times, a couple of times in her career, she would have been named in the team and had to pull out. I remember twice specifically after the warm-up she couldn't play. So from that point of view, I think there's a lot of credit has to go to her and her character and the resilience that she's shown throughout the years, because it's not easy to come back from those kind of persistent injuries. And yeah, such a great servant to Ireland over the years and all the clubs. She has represented numerous clubs. I couldn't name them all, but just a top quality player and a great person too. I'm sure we'll see a lot of her around.
Yeah, for sure. And the squad for the Belgium playoffs was also named last week, and some notable injuries. Courtney Brosnan, of course, in goal. We'll talk about the void that leaves. Megan Connolly also not involved through injury, and Leanne Kieran also. But back are Jessu and Jamie Finn, Rachel, as I think you had flagged that they were players you were keen to see come back in. And then there are no LOI-based players, but Kelly Brady, the hat-trick hero from the cup final, and Shamrock Rovers defender Maria Reynolds have been invited to train with the squad. And Katie McCabe set to win her 100th cap, and Rachel, that's a huge milestone. I think you've known her since she was a young player kind of coming through. To get to 100, I know she won't make a big deal of it because there's something bigger on the line here, but it's a huge achievement. Yeah,
like a massive achievement. I mean, even to get one cap for your country is brilliant, but to get 100 caps, it's huge. And look, obviously Katie came through Heaney when she was a young player. I think she was only 16 maybe, and we knew straight away that this girl has something special, and obviously went on to prove that. And look, Katie didn't have, the easiest of time either. She went to Arsenal and struggled for a bit and went on loan. So she's worked really hard for what she's got. And even, being made captain, I think she was only 21, 22 at the time. Like, that's a huge amount of pressure to put on someone her age's shoulders. And it didn't faze her. She took it on, on her shoulders. She really carried the team, and there's probably players in there that maybe felt that they maybe should have got it at the time, but so it was really hard for her. But look, she's proven her worth for us so many times. She's a top quality player, world class, Champions League winner, and she's great for the squad. She's like a role model for young players. She's probably our biggest celebrity, her and Denise are the two. Anytime you ask a young girl who's your favourite player, it's usually one of them two. So 100 caps, it's huge for our country, but I think, like you said, she's not going to want any attention on her. It's all about getting the job done these next 2 games.
Yeah, and Maeve, the concern though is in goal. Obviously, with Courtney Brosnan out injured, she's been such a stalwart in her time in the squad, but suddenly there's a lack of experience going into what are 2 big games.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Sophie Whitehouse, who's been in the squad for ages, like I said, has been uncapped, as well as Katie Keane, who's called in as a third keeper. And yeah, it looks like Grace Maloney might be the one in line to start. And although has been in the squad for years, just that lack of probably big game experience could be missing. But hopefully, whoever is selected, hopefully they'll be able to step in there and do a job, because they're really important games. And of course we will be without Anna Patton as well in the first game, suspended, so that's kind of leaves a little bit of a gap. But I'd expect maybe Caitlin Hayes, Aoife Mannion, Jessie Stapleton, probably those to start at the back. And just another point as well is that Denise O'Sullivan has been out for the last 2 months injured. I think she just came back, played 20 minutes at the weekend. So hopefully, she'll be back in. It's just hard to know. Will she be fit to play 90 minutes, back to back over only across a couple of games? So, or a couple of days even. So yeah, that'll be interesting. And I suppose player who hasn't been named in the squad is Tara O'Hanlon. She's just back as well playing. I read something yesterday, I think it was 862 days since she last started a competitive game. So she moved to England and she didn't start a competitive game. The last time she played was June 23 in the league here. So she might be one to watch in future squads as well, I'd say.
Yeah, and the squad itself is fairly settled. I think obviously the call-ins for Jess Sue and Jamie Finn, you'd kind of flag them as players that will come back. Just on the training squad, I know we've talked a lot about Kelly Brady, but Maria Reynolds of Shamrock Rovers, what does she bring to the table from your experience of sharing a pitch with her? Yeah,
look, she's one of them. She's always just in the way, one of them kind of defenders. But I'd say Carla's probably looking at her and looking at her physical attributes. I mean, I don't know her exact height, but she's definitely now smaller than 6 foot, and that's obviously really rare to come by in women's football. And if you're looking at a centre half who want to be able to defend your box, defend set pieces, she'd be ideal for that. So I think she's probably looking at that side of the game as well, because I mean, if you look at Rovers, they haven't had the best of season. They've conceded quite a lot of goals compared to Athlone, who has Kaylee Shine at the back, and an excellent defender, reads the game really well as well. So I think probably what's going for her at the moment is those physical attributes, and get her in, get her tested against these top quality players. Can she, step up to the international level? So I think that's probably one side of it as well. But look, in the league, she's a really good defender. She's always in the way. She's obviously really tall, cover ground quickly, and like I said, win every header that goes into the box. Yeah, and both games live on RT2 and the RT player. So the coverage for this Friday's game, though, the first leg is from 6:30, and there's also going to be radio coverage on a specially extended game on. And of course, the second leg is on Tuesday in Belgium, but Aviva Stadium on Friday. Now, Belgium's manager is Icelandic native Elizabeth Gunnarsdottir, who managed them at the Euros and has been in charge since January. And Maeve, just in terms of what we saw of them during the Euros, where they were in a very, very tough group, how strong are they? What's your sense of them from that tournament?
Yeah, I think having that big game or big tournament experience behind them, especially so recently as the summer, it's going to be. I think it'll definitely be to their advantage in terms of they're ranked higher than us as well, so they'll be the ones, their favourites. The pressure is on them at the same time, whereas obviously we haven't played since those games away to America when we didn't even have a full squad. So I think that kind of continuity might run in Belgium's favour too. But they do have quality players who are capable of scoring goals as well. And Amber Barrett playing in Belgium, she might be quite familiar with them as well. But I think from our perspective, definitely in the home leg, I think it'll be important to try to stay in the game as well. Not so many of our players are playing 90 minutes at the moment with clubs. I know 20 of of them are playing in England, and 16 of them are in that WSL too. And some are playing consistently and some are not. So I think that'll be a big challenge for Carla, just to get them in and ready for the games. But I think we could have gotten worse draws, to be honest, than Belgium. So I think it will take it. But like I said, if we can just stay in the tie in the home leg on Friday, then just take it to them then when you get over to Belgium.
Yeah, and Tessa Woolard is obviously the player that a lot of the spotlight is on. How do Ireland approach that? Just seeing it from the Euros, she had an ability to sort of drop in deep at times, and then also has the ability to obviously be a danger in the box as well.
Yeah, and look, again, all these things are much easier said than done, but I think probably similar to what we were saying about Bowes, it's, you know, when you know a ball is coming to the box or when they're attacking, you just have to pick her up, just know where she is at all times. And she does like to drift wide in some areas as well, so can you pass her on? If she drops in, you pass her on. But look, she's definitely their number one dangerous player. If, you know, we're defending, they're attacking, just know where she is at all times. Try and keeping her facing away from the goal as best you can. But look, she's obviously going to be a huge goal. I think she has nearly 100 goals for international, which is huge. So she's another big threat for them, and probably in the wide areas as well. They've good players as well, so just be ready for any balls into the box and just know where she is at all times. Yeah,
and Maeve, just in terms of Ireland's formation, because they have been fluid over the last number of years, do you expect a back three to deal with someone like a Woolard? And I know you can't be dealing with just one player, but or do you expect a back four?
I think that a back three just suits the quality of the players that we have and the strength and depth in those areas, and then maybe the likes of Katie can play as a wing back and push on. And so yeah, for me, I think being more defensive against a team higher ranked is a smarter, more prudent approach. Whether Carla decides to opt that way, I know she's like to play forward the back as well a lot, but for me, that 3 centre backs as in a back 5, I think is what might suit us best going into these games.
Yeah, and I suppose a final point, Rachel, just in terms of the Aviva Stadium factor, that's obviously going to be a huge part. Ireland have gotten used to it, but then I suppose Belgium have been playing in big games in the Euros as well. So will that faze anybody?
I don't think it will. No, I think all these players are professional. They're used to playing in front of crowds. They're used to playing in big stadiums. So, and we've obviously played there before. So I don't think it's going to be a huge factor. Obviously, you'd hope to get a really big crowd, get, you know, as many people as you can behind to support the team, because it's going to be a huge ask. And I think the fact that it's the home leg first is probably a disadvantage, where you'd like to have your home leg second, where you can just stay in the first game and try and win it at home then in the second leg. But look, hopefully we get a good crowd. I'm not sure what the ticket sales are like, but look, I think if you're a professional footballer, you can't be fazed by having a crowd or playing in the stadium. Yeah, so home leg on Friday, coverage on RT2 and the RT Player from 6:30, and also a specially extended game on in terms of radio. We'll have a live blog on rte.ie/sport. But for now, Rachel and Maeve, thanks very much for your time. No problem.
Podcast, and I'm delighted to be joined now by Richie, Towell and Barry Murphy. Lads, welcome along. And thanks, Barry, welcome to the humble abode. I don't know what you think of it.
Yeah, nice to see you in person.
Yeah.
That's great.
It doesn't happen often enough in this kind of post-COVID era, but this is the way going forward. Now, we were talking about international football before the break, so we're going to carry on with that here. And before we talk about Ireland versus Armenia and all the fallout from that, we spoke last month about Pico Lopes and I suppose the joy of having one foot in the World Cup. Both feet are in the World Cup now, but imagine that being not just one high point, but that there's even something better coming along that he has to rush back for as well.
I know, I was speaking to him during the week just after his wife Leah gave birth, and what a whirlwind of a week for him. Qualified for the World Cup, and then a little boy, Diego Lopes as well. Sounds like he's going to be an absolutely incredible football player, isn't he? If there's a Diego Lopes playing football in Dublin, he's going to be a serious footballer. But do you know what, Raf? He's an absolute salt of the earth person. He is. His wife Leah is the exact same. Two really good people. So it's brilliant when you see good things happening to good people, and I'm absolutely delighted for them. And do you know what? I know we'll probably touch on it later on, but it probably suits that Rovers they can go on and win it, that he can be there to lift the trophy, because he's been their steady Eddie main player for the whole season. So for him to be there, lift the trophy, just to put the cherry on top of the cake, it'd be absolutely brilliant for him.
Yeah, and given what we will talk about, obviously, the uncertainty whether Ireland will be at a World Cup, at least there's one Irishman who is going to be there, and that's for Cape Verde, of course, who qualified for the first time. And the second smallest country by population, Iceland, who were actually managed by Heimir Hallgrímsson at the time, obviously being the smallest at the time. That was back in 2018. But you played with him at the very start of his career. So this was 2011. I think I counted out 47 minutes on the pitch together. He had just...
What a 47 minutes.
Yeah, he had just broken into the Bows team. Obviously, he's gone on to become one of the best defenders in the league's history. But what was that young Pico like? Was the potential very obvious at the time?
Oh yeah, I think it was always there. There was always talk about him coming through the ranks as well. And the way Bows was at the time, it was a transitional period. We'd obviously had the 2010 kind of malfunction with the wages and things, the club nearly going bust. So a lot of younger players got a chance coming through. I think the games he played, he came on for 2 or 3 minutes in one of the games. It was always for Mark Rossiter coming on a right back at that stage, and a veteran in Mark Rossiter. I think he came on for 45 minutes against UCD. I think we were 2-0 down at the time against UCD, and he came on, but you could just see his athleticism, his will to go and put a tackle in. Just a really quality player, and he's obviously gone on to brilliant things now. I also remember him scoring against me for Bows when I was in goals for Rovers. He came out and cleaned me out of it from a corner and scored from it. And you'd probably think to yourself, then this guy's got a future.
Yeah, we'll be talking about Pico and Shamrock Rovers a little bit later on. Obviously, they're in Europe this week as well. We do have a live Champions League game, which is Eintracht Frankfurt versus Liverpool on RT2 and the RTÉ player. That's on Wednesday from 7:30. Now we're going to turn our attentions to the slightly more grim subject, which is Ireland-Armenia. A win is a win, but let's first listen to Richie Sadler, I think was summing up the mood of the nation last Tuesday night after that 1-0 win.
We won, and we can do a couple of things here tonight. We can just be scoreboard analysts and go, we got what we came for, we won, look at the league table, and we can carry on with your permutations chat about if X, Y and Z happen, here's how we go. Why in the name of God do we think this team will get anything from the Portugal game? Why in the name of God would you think we could go away from Hungary and get something?
Well, the reason they might think they might get something from the Portugal game is because they nearly did a couple of days ago.
Why would we think? We showed the performance against Portugal before the game. It was 10 lads supporting the goalkeeper to keep a clean sheet. It wasn't 10 players going, let's play football, let's create a chance, let's trouble the opposition goalkeeper. You don't get anywhere if you do that. And then tonight at home against 10 men of Armenia, we still didn't look like we were a competent footballing team. We played without any kind of sign that we really believed we could go and put our foot in their throat and really punish them.
All right, so that is Richie Sadler there. And as he said, why in the name of God, or why in the name of any deity of your choice, I suppose. But Richie, what do you take from that Armenia game? Because a win is a win, and I think that's all that was being asked for. But yet it leaves all these lingering questions, especially with the two of the hardest games left in November now.
Yeah, it's always performance-based, isn't it, really? Like, even when I was playing myself, you win a game and you walk off the pitch, you think, nah, it needs to be better, it does. And when they walked off after the first half, I was thinking, this is an absolute disaster. I thought Armenia were absolutely fantastic in the game. For the first 7 or 8 minutes, I was thinking, this is exactly what we need. We started on the front foot. I was like, lovely, I really fancy us today. And then we go these long periods of the game where we drop into a low block. I was looking at Evan Ferguson, he was 15, 20 yards inside their own half against Armenia at home when we're desperate for winning. Not just desperate for a win, but desperate for goals as well. Obviously, goal difference, like, it could come down to that. So when I was looking at it, I was thinking, what is going on here? And you can see the only probably player who you can see is actually setting the standard there is Seamus Coleman. You see in the first 2 minutes, flies into 2 tackles. The whole crowd gets lifted and you're thinking, this is exactly what we need. That's why Seamus has been brought back into the team, a proper leader. And then we go into this low block, and you can see Seamus. He's trying to rally the troops. He's trying to get them going. He's trying to get the crowd going. He put in another tackle in the second half. He was cheering the crowd up. You're just thinking, where is the leadership coming from outside of the pitch? You can have lads on the pitch that are going to drag you through games, but sometimes it needs to come from the manager where you're saying, listen, at no stage of the game we're going into a low block. We're high pressing from the get-go, and that's the way it is. If you're tired after an hour, we'll take it off and we'll put someone else on. But I was just looking after the first half and I was thinking, if this continues in this fashion, it's going to be an absolute disaster of a game. To be honest, Raph, we are blessed. It's a carbon copy of the Hungary game. Really, really poor first half. They get a ridiculous sending off, very, very silly on their behalf. And then we managed to obviously win the game against Armenia, and we managed to draw against Hungary. But it's just not good enough, really. It's not. And obviously, you hear Richie Celje there, and it's hard to be optimistic. And I would always be an optimistic person. You think, right, can we dare to dream and go and beat Portugal and then see what happens when we go and play Hungary? But just on the performance based, it's really hard to say it is.
Yeah, and on the same night, obviously, Hungary were in action in Portugal, and Dominic Szoboszlai's goal has changed the dynamic of the group as well, it feels.
Yeah, I think I always felt something like that was going to happen in that game, just the way they attacked the first game in Portugal. Scored 4 goals against them. I don't think we had 2 shots in that leg ourselves, but as Richie said, it was just really poor performance all around, and it kind of the stall was set out the day before, and he said it's going to be a scrappy 1-0 win, we'll take that all day. And you look at that said, it creeped into the mindset. It was a flat back 5 as well. You can accept the 3 at the back and you've got your wing backs going forward, but it was a flat back 5. As soon as they go down to 10 men, you think, go and get after these teams, go and be aggressive. Do similar to Hungary, maybe get 34 crosses into the box, get something out, put pressure on it. And there, as Richie said, Seamus was the only one doing it. Went in and gave the goalkeeper a wallop as well, knew what he was doing as well. Just got the crowd riled up, like, right, here we go. They're down to 10 men. And then you see the substitution. I'm thinking, great. He's bringing, I think, Ogbeni on. He's bringing Troy Parrott on. Okay, we're going to take a centre half off here, 4 at the back, go 2 up top, really go after him. He didn't. Stayed with the flat back 5, and I see his communication during the week is, listen, we got the results, or nearly got the result in Portugal. We played well off the back of it. We're going to do the same. This is 5th ranked team in the world against the 103rd, whatever it is. It's totally different. You've got to approach it differently. What works for one doesn't always work for the other. I think when you look at that Portugal game against Hungary as well, you're thinking, we go win against Armenia and get a decent goal difference. We get ourselves a real chance going into that game. We just didn't give ourselves the opportunity to go and do that.
Yeah, and there was obviously the red card, as you mentioned, was probably it was a blessing in disguise for us because it sort of gave us that chance in the second half. So that's Tigran Bersagyan, the Armenia midfielder. So James McLean afterwards, though, he was critical of Finn Azaz, who went down afterwards. So I'll just read the Instagram post that he put up. So it's still going to be a red card now with VAR, and play without falling down, holding your face like Canelo, just landed one flush, embarrassing behaviour. At the same time, there's an element that sometimes we're accused of being sometimes too honest. I don't know, do you feel like in terms of Finn Azaz, you just have to give the referee a decision to make, I suppose?
Yeah, look, Raf, I'm all for winning at all costs, but see, diving and that sort of stuff where lads are going down, rolling around, I don't like that. I don't understand why James McLean has felt the need to come out and publicly criticise him as well on social media. Like, if he was a current player now playing in the Ireland team and or a few years ago when he was coming through and the likes of Damien Duff or someone like that had come out and publicly criticised him on social media, I don't think he would have liked that. So I don't understand that. I'm pretty sure they're going to be playing against each other probably pretty soon, Middlesbrough against Wrexham. So it was a bit of a strange one for me to see that come out. Obviously, he is right in what he's saying. Like, with VAR now, you can't get away with anything. It's as simple as that. And especially, I remember at the time, I was thinking, did he actually do it? And then as soon as the VAR slows it down and the head goes towards the player, it's an automatic red card. So he doesn't really need to roll around. But at the same time, I don't understand why McLean has to come out and criticise him. Ireland do need to be a little bit more streetwise. I feel little blocks from corners, just the dark arts of the games in transition, taking players out and stuff like that. I'm all for that, I am, but I'm not all for the rolling around and the diving. Like.
Yeah, and just on McLean as well, I remember a few years ago, obviously, I think everyone remembers the Cardiff game where he scores that winner, and that's the kind of performance that'll be needed in one of these 2 games coming up, more likely in Budapest. I imagine, from what you've said already, your pessimism is you don't think we can dig out a performance like that again.
Look, I think it will suit us playing against Portugal. As Richie Celje said, we do have 10 men behind the ball supporting the goalkeeper. We just need to have a little bit more options in transition when we are going to break on them. We barely had any chances over in Portugal. We need to dare to dream, don't we, Rafa? We need to have, like when you see him when Shane Long scored against Germany all those years ago, give the fans, give the kids something to aspire to look at the game and think, that's absolutely incredible. I'd love to be a part of that someday. That's all the lads can do now going into the Portugal game. And then once you take care of business there, again, you go over to Budapest, it's going to be extremely hard. You see how good they are. Even playing against Portugal, who I think are one of the best teams in the world at the moment. And they go over there and have a really good account of themselves. Like,
yeah, and this goes beyond November, what I'm going to say next, but this is about Ireland possibly filling out the squad with extra options. So Kieran Dewsbury Hall, the Liverpool Echo, were saying that the FAI would be looking at trying to get him, into within the fold. He is actually, weirdly enough, as good a player as he has never been capped at any level for England, which I was surprised at. Do you feel we should be chasing players like that who have not publicly expressed an interest in playing for Ireland previously, or where do you stand on it?
Yeah, I think get him straight in, get him in and get him capped. I think the English do that really well. Anyone that drinks Earl Grey over there gets a cap. I think it's unbelievable. But I think you just get him in. He's a quality player. I think he'd add something to the team that we don't have at the moment. And go out and give him that option. Say, listen, you're going to come in. There's a chance you're going to start. You're going to be in the squads here going forward. Take that option away from England, where he progresses over the next season or two and he's going to get capped by England if he wants it. You've got to take that option away, get them in early, get them in. And obviously we're missing somebody like him in the squad at the moment. Yeah, and someone who was missing from the squad but having pulled out was Sammie Szmodics, and I know you were kind of speaking about it on social media as well, but I just want to get a few stats and facts as well first across, just around his kind of injury situation as well. So he pulled out of the October window, but he was back in time to start for Ipswich at Middlesbrough on Friday, which was obviously a bone of contention for a lot of Ireland fans. His manager, Kieran McKenna, did say that he would need, and this is a quote, a course of injections to be able to play through his ankle issue, and he's had ankle-related issues on and off since January. He's played some part in all of Ipswich's games this season. He won 10 consecutive caps for Ireland across 2024, but apart from the Hungary game last month, he has not played for the boys in green at all in 2025. In the second half of last season, he missed 10 Premier League games in a row, including either side of the March window. So since then, he's pulled out the squads he's been named in June, second part of September, and also October, and played for Ipswich in the next game on each occasion a few days later. So do you feel Hamer should just wait to until he's definitely 100% before calling him in, to sort of avoid the situation where he's called in and then he's pulling out and then obviously playing for Ipswich days later? I think he shouldn't call him up at all. I think he should be cutting ties with him. To be honest, it's probably a little bit harsh, but I think he's shown a real contempt for the jersey. Disrespect to the management as well and the fans. He's made himself available for Ipswich after not being available for Ireland 3 days later. And we've all had those injuries where you've got to come through and fight your way through that injury. But this is World Cup qualifiers. This is the pinnacle. It should be the pinnacle of your career, going and playing these games. And you're coming again. And he played in the East Anglia Derby, played 87 minutes, pulled out the Ireland team, went ahead and pulled out the second window as well, and then was available for 67 minutes against Middlesbrough. And listen, I know that there's management and the way the staff around and now are getting in his ear probably about, listen, we've got to manage our minutes going to these games. But for me, this is two huge games. You leave him out of the latter games, or maybe rest him in periods where you can rest him, but to have him in around that squad, and especially the first one where he's pulled out after the Hungary game, and you've got that game against Armenia on the Tuesday, and then he's available again on the Saturday. That he was so comprehensively available on the Saturday just smelled a bit off for me. And I think for Hamer, it's asking questions and making a rod for his own back when he keeps calling him up and he keeps denying it. So for me, I just wouldn't call him up again. Yeah, Richie, where do you stand on that?
I think from Szmodics' point of view, like that, if he's getting injections in his ankle all the time to play in games, he turns up and he sees the writing on the wall and he's not playing. He thinks, am I actually going to get an injection to sit on the bench, maybe get 5 minutes? No, I'm going to go back to Ipswich and bide my time there and actually get some minutes at the weekend. It's a hard one, isn't it? Because you want the players to, you want to have built a culture there where the players are in it together no matter what. If someone's starting, if someone's playing every single minute, you want them all to be together as a team, supporting each other. When stuff like that happens, that's where the culture really goes down in my estimation. And Barry's probably right. If you have someone that can't be there to support their teammates, maybe you should just cut ties with them. Like, yeah. And now let's turn our attentions to domestic matters. So the League of Ireland, the Premier Division, from Friday night. So Drogheda United got a very crucial 1-0 win over Cork City. Josh Thomas's header just before half time. Galway United, now that's even more like, I suppose at the bottom, or the battle towards the bottom, it's even bigger in a way. Galway United 2-0 winners over Bohs, who are in theory in European contention. And then Shelbourne 3-1 winners over Sligo Rovers. St. Pat's denying Shamrock Rovers the chance to lift the trophy, or well, at least to get, or to seal the title, let's just say, winning 1-0. Simon Power with a brilliant goal in that. And then Derry City 2-1 winners over Waterford. And Richie, it's another missed chance for Shamrock Rovers, and suddenly the Derry City game that's coming up on Sunday in the Brandywell becomes that bit more intriguing, given they're the only team in contention still. Of course, I'm sure they would have been only living to win the title, especially against St. Pat's in Richmond Park. Pats are one of the favourites to win the league at the start of the season, so I'm sure Stephen and the lads were saying before the game, look, let's show exactly why we're going to be champions and go out and put performance in. But I think we actually seen the St. Patrick's Athletic that we thought we were going to see from the get-go. I thought they were absolutely brilliant. The only thing is, Pats now are a possession-based team, and they completely gave up possession to Shamrock Rovers. They did, especially in the first half. I think it was over 70% possession to Rovers, and you could see Pat's game plan straight away. They were letting the back three of Rovers have the ball and then waiting in transition with the likes of Simon Power, Mason Mealy and Cian Levy. They're three absolute weapons to have up at the top end of the pitch, and if Stephen utilised them well and rightly, they'll be an absolute force to reckon with. I actually thought that Pats were brilliant. As I said, it's probably a performance that they haven't really put in this season, where they were really diligent at the back. There wasn't them big gaps between back to front. It was a really, really good performance from Pats, and as you said, now at least Rovers were having to go up to Derry and win the league. And Shells won the league up in Derry last year, up in the Brandywell, so I'm pretty sure that the Derry players, staff, and more importantly the fans, they won't be happy with Rovers coming up thinking they're going to steal the title up there again. So it's going to make for an intriguing day of football.
Yeah, I suppose the focus was on Rovers because of the situation they're in, but for Pats, very much needed.
Yeah, absolutely. And as Richie said, I thought Pats were excellent. They were everything they weren't in that FAI Cup game against Cork. They're on the front foot, tempo, tackling. The way they, as Richie said, they set off the game, and they probably went after Cork too much, and Cork did what Pats did against Rovers, just sat back, got them on the transitions. And I think Barry Bagley was absolutely excellent. Some of his touches and his touch for the goal, and he lays it off, was absolutely brilliant, and obviously the strike from Power. But Rovers just looked like they massively miss Honan and Grant on the wings. There's no real outlet for them as wing bats, and as Pats kind of shored up the midfield, it just kind of left Rovers with no real options. And obviously at the end, you've got a big shout out to Joey Anang as well. It's a stunning save down to his right hand side from Rory Gaffney. But it is probably Pat's best performance, and definitely Barry Bagley's best performance in the Pats jersey. Yeah, and very crucial for Pats. Also, Bows, they're playing them tonight, obviously, so that's a huge game in the context of Shells and Derry City, both now having a bit of wind in sails and momentum as well. Yeah, especially with the Bows result down in Galway. I think they would have fancied themselves to go down and give themselves a bigger cushion going into tonight, and tonight's massive. If Bows go and get a win, you can nearly knock Pats out of that equation. 4 points ahead with 2 games to go after that, and it's just a really disappointing result for Bows. But they've got a decent result in Dalymount, or a decent record in Dalymount, Pat, so again they'll be looking to bounce back and take the points there tonight. Yeah, and from the Shells game as well, obviously the 3-1 win over Sligo Rovers. The interesting character there, he didn't get on the score sheet, but Jack Henry Francis, he was signed in the summer. He's had his injuries, he's been settled in now, and just noticeably just through the highlights of that game, he's becoming increasingly prominent as well, particularly against a team that he was on loan at last season as well, and where he excelled. Yeah, it's always the way, isn't it, when you go and play against your own team, you put in an unbelievable performance. But to be fair to him, I think he's been playing at a really high level the last couple of weeks. I obviously watched him against Shamrock Rovers as well. They're brilliant. I think the dynamic of himself, Kerr McEnroy and JJ Lunny in the middle of the park is absolutely brilliant. I think they have real legs, real quality on the ball. They have real know-how in the game. They have a great shape about them. I think Joey O'Brien's done a really, really good job there. Jack Henry Francis has been one of the stars over the last couple of weeks since he's come back into the team. So it's probably no wonder that Shells have gone on to win their last 4 games since he's back in the team. And from where they were to where they are now, Shells have done absolutely incredible. I think if they can continue the form on that they're on now and bring that into next season, I think we'll have a much closer title race. Yeah, and then from Drogheda United's point of view as well, I suppose Cork City being already relegated means they're sort of like they have to be the gimme for teams that are fighting for something, and Drogheda did get that win. I suppose where the way the table looks now, they need to hope Shamrock Rovers basically win the cup, because obviously getting into the top 3 looks like it's going to be tough in terms of how many games are left, but if you can get 4th, who knows? Yeah, I think, not to be disrespectful to Cork, like Cork done absolutely fantastic against St. Pat's, but I think Shamrock Rovers will just be too strong for them, especially in the Aviva, massive pitch like a carpet. I think Rovers will be too strong, so I do think that 4th spot will become available. I know Drogheda to play Bows at home, final game of the season. I think Kevin Doherty will absolutely relish that. There seemed to be a bit of needle between him and the Bohemians manager a couple of weeks ago they did when they played against each other. So I'm sure if it comes down to that,
on the last game of the season, I think Kevin will have the troops really, really fired up. And you know what? They were really unfortunate in the circumstances that they didn't get Europe this year with what went down with the ownership and stuff like that. So I think for them, if they get fourth, but I think Kevin, look, I know Stephen Bradley probably do the double this year, getting into the group stages again. But Kevin Doherty's done an absolutely incredible job there with the budget that he has and the group that he has there. He's done fantastic.
Yeah, so wins for Drogheda, for Shells, for Pats, and obviously Derry, going well as well. And then Bows, probably the worst time to be falling to a defeat. And I know Galway United is a very tough place to go, but now this is a run of, I think, just one win from their last 5 in the league, and obviously not counting the Schalke friendly, which is kind of irrelevant in this scenario. But it's the worst time to be just coming off the boil when they had been impressive up to that point.
Yeah, it is, and their usual bad spell is kind of halfway through the season. They usually start really well, have a bad spell and come back strong. It's kind of the opposite at the moment, and as I said, that was just a really poor result out in Galway. Obviously Galway have their own struggles and their own wants to go and win that game, and they were excellent on the night. Brendan Clark didn't have a lot to do against Bows, and listen, they've got to go and get a result tonight, keep it in their hands. You're just looking at the games coming up again. Shells have Bows next Sunday as well. So like there's huge games coming up all around, and it's brilliant at this stage of the season that we've this much to play for.
Yeah, it's just a pity maybe the title race wasn't closer as it was last season. Patrick Hickey as well, I suppose, from the flip of the coin in that game between Galway and Bows. Patrick Hickey we spoke about a few weeks ago, who had been out of form in terms of goal contributions, but he's now starting to make an impact again, and he was important at least at the start of the game for Galway.
Yeah, he is in the position he plays as well. He needs somebody beyond him, like a Moses Dyer. He was brilliant through him. He could flick it on. He could work off him little intricate plays and get his goals from there. I saw him last year against Shamrock Rovers. He was brilliant in that position. He just hasn't had that front man to really work off, so he was trying to do everything himself, come short, go long, get on the end of things, and he's a really good footballer, and they just haven't come up with the goals and the contributions in that way to service really for him to kind of work off.
Yeah, and with Waterford falling to defeat and also Sligo falling to defeat, Galway getting a win, and I think Waterford and Galway play each other on the last day. What's your sense of where this relegation, or avoid the relegation playoff spot more so, where that battle is sort of heading at this stage, or who's got the sort of wind in their sails?
You'd have to think Galway now. Galway go to Rovers. If Rovers wrap it up on Sunday, they go to them on Wednesday. You feel a result there, a point even takes them kind of out of the commission. They go to Waterford the last day of the season. That's the last thing you want to be doing, is going down there and needing results. So it was a huge win for them the other night. Sligo, as well as they've been doing, they're right back in it now on 39 points. So it's a really tough one. John has done an excellent job there. Now you may look at the table and think they're struggling, but for his budget and what they've done, the players they lose consistently year on year, he's done really well. It's all about just staying out of that second bottom position at the moment.
Yeah, and the first division as well was sorted on Friday night in terms of the regular season, and the last playoff place went to Treaty United. So the fixtures as they are in the playoffs. So this Friday, Treaty United hosting Cove Ramblers in their first leg, and then the second leg at St. Colman's Park, Cove Ramblers hosting Treaty, and then in the other semi-final it is UCD against Bray Wanderers, and then of course on the return leg on the Tuesday as well, Bray Wanderers hosting UCD. And Richie, where is your sense of, or where are you leaning towards in terms of those two semi-finals, or who do you think is going to come through them?
I think Cove would have to be favourites after finishing second. I went to watch Bray against UCD last year in the playoff game. It's mad that they're actually playing against each other now, so I'm sure Ronan Finn will have the troops fired up at UCD. So we went to cheer him on, but I don't think it matters who goes through that, because I think there's too much of a gap between the First Division and the Premier Division. I actually think it's terrible that you have to finish in the top 5 there, then you have to go into a playoff, and then you have to go into another playoff. I think it's absolutely ridiculous. It's so unfair on the teams in the First Division, because it's going to make it impossible for them to go up. It does. I think you see when Sligo played against Dundalk in the Cup in Oriel Park, Sligo were just way too strong for them. Sligo were actually in a really, really bad vein of form then as well, and Dundalk were obviously flying they were. So I think you see Sligo went up and comfortably beat them. I think no matter what team ends up in the playoff, I think they'll just have a little bit too much for the First Division teams, which is unfortunate for them, because as you said, probably if you finish second in the league, you probably deserve to get promoted, don't you? Let's be realistic. So it's really unfair on them, I think.
Yeah, and Cove favourites against Treaty United. The other game is probably the one that feels more in the balance, at least on paper. But then Billy O'Neill, who had a brilliant game on Friday night, gets sent off in kind of slightly mysterious circumstances.
Yeah.
And that'll be a miss as well, seeing as he's likely suspended now for that first leg.
Yeah, he might even get the 2 legs as well. He'd be suspended for, if it's talking back to a referee, which it seems to be. He conceded the knock-offs enough. He was just tying his lace, coming off. He'd already been substituted, walking off the pitch. Seems to have said something to the referee. Referee's taken it the wrong way and sent him off. And listen, he scored 4 goals the other night, and he's been their talisman, the real standout player this year. And you're just looking at the changes he'd made. He made 9 changes during the night. Cork and Max Murphy, Farzai and Cantwell all left out, and just strange that he left him on when their position in the playoffs had already been wrapped up. To leave him in was a bit of a strange one, and it's come back to haunt him. And hopefully they do get to these 2 playoff games and he's available for the final round, but it's a strange one.
Yeah, and we'll see if he's also available for if he's named in the squad for the Under-17s World Cup as well, which is just around the corner as well. Obviously Ireland in it as well. But before we go, let's talk about the League of Ireland clubs in Europe. So Shelbourne are at Shkendija, so that's after getting the 0-0 draw against BK Häcken before the international break. Now, just a bit of background on Shkendija ahead of this game on Thursday. It's a 5:45 p.m. kickoff as well, and not in the capital not in the hometown of Shkendija. It's in the capital Skopje, which is about an hour away. So Shkendija are a club founded in the late 1970s by members of the ethnic Albanian community. They lost 2-0 to Rayo Vallecano in their opening game of the Conference League, which is a kind of a notable enough result because Rayo obviously play in La Liga, and they are third in the North Macedonian League after 9 unbeaten games and have been in European qualifiers every season since 2014-15. They reached the Champions League third qualifying round after beating FCSB 3-1 on aggregate before losing 6-1 to Karabakh. Took Ludogorets to extra time in the Europa League before dropping into the Conference League, and like Shelbourne, this is their first ever season in the league phase or group stage. Their home record in the league reads 4 wins and a draw from 5 games and a decent defensive record to boot as well. The LOI, just for reference, is ranked 31st by UEFA, and the North Macedonian League is 51st. And in terms of the style of play, they mostly play 4-2-3-1 and have some but not many current internationals in their squad. Their main centre forward, for instance, and he's also their captain, Besart Ibrahimi, is 38 and previously had 17 caps for North Macedonia. And there are things in that, Barry, that would encourage Shelbourne, I suppose, but also at the other end of it as well, this is, they're no mugs either.
No, absolutely not. You look at that, the third qualifying round of the Champions League is no mean feat either. To beat Stoya Bucharest, the old Stoya Bucharest, as we should say, to push Ludogorets all the way. And interesting the way you said there, the 4-2-3-1, it's the exact same setup that Chelsea play as well. Their 2 midfielders, Ramadani and Kaka in the middle. There's a fella on the right wing, Tamba, he's excellent, really young lad, 21-year-old, I think he's a Cameroonian, really good player. And he said Ibrahimi up front, the 17 cap, 38-year-old, and he's the talisman, the goal scorer. But for them, they'll probably see Shells as the one. You'll have picked out games in this round of fixtures in this league where you can possibly get 3 points. Shells be one of them for them, and for Shells it'll be them as well. So it'll be an interesting game, a kind of similarity in terms of style, so should be a good one.
Yeah, and obviously Shells have a template they can work off from the BK Häcken game. I was at it at the time, and I thought they acquitted themselves well, so that is something that certainly they can build on.
Yeah, of course, and I actually played over in North Macedonia against, I think it might be in the same stadium that they're playing in. I played against Skopje. We beat them to actually qualify for the group stages we did. They were decent as well. They were, I know sometimes people over here maybe look at North Macedonia should go over and hammer them, but as you said, a team that takes Ludogorets all the way. I was going to say lucky enough. I was unlucky enough to play against Ludogorets twice, and they were absolutely fantastic. They were a really, really good side. So for them to take them all the way, it shows that they're half decent. I noticed the result against TNS. They only narrowly beat TNS, and you see when Rovers played against them last year, they absolutely wiped the floor with them. They did. So it all just depends on what sort of Shelbourne team turns up. I think if you get the Shelbourne team that turned up on Friday and the team that turned up against Shamrock Rovers in Tala Stadium, I think they'll be absolutely fine. I think going over there, if they can get a draw, I think Joey O'Brien will be happy enough with that as well.
Yeah, I think actually the word Macedonia is almost a byword for something Irish football as well. Now that it comes with 1999. Yeah, to have Macedonia. It's actually a saying and a verb as well. But Shamrock Rovers also playing on the same night, 8 o'clock kickoff though against NK Celje, who are familiar opponents. Now NK NK Celje, they beat AEK Athens 3-1 last time in the Conference League, so just a few weeks ago. And obviously AEK Athens in the Greek league, that is quite a strong league, so that's a very notable result. And they are runaway leaders in the Slovenian league after a dozen games, and the only unbeaten team at the moment. They're also the reigning cup winners in Slovenia, although last season they were 4th in the league. But in Europe, they got as far as the Conference League quarterfinals last season, where they lost 4-3 on aggregate to Fiorentina. They also have more current internationals than Shkendija, including Slovenia defender Zan Karnicic, and they play in a 4-1-4-1 shape. You played against them last year, just in the qualifiers for the Europa League it was, and you played in the home leg where Shamrock Rovers won 3-1. What's your memory of how strong Celje are, how they set up as well?
I just remember not getting a touch of the ball. They were excellent, honestly. Not that we celebrated when we got them in the draw. Like, when you're looking at the draw, you always earmark a team. I wouldn't mind getting them. Obviously, you see the likes of maybe an AEK Athens or Stoja Bucharest, one of them teams, Ludogorets, you don't want to be getting any of them. And you see Celje and you think, Slovenian League, yeah, we'll have a go at that. They were absolutely brilliant. They were, honestly, I couldn't believe how good they were. In their home leg, we barely got a touch of the ball the whole game. They probably should have came into the away leg a couple of goals up. We were very fortunate that we were still in the tie, and then obviously when we took them back to Towell Stadium, we ended up getting the job done. So they're really, really good side, and it'll be a game that Stephen Bradley and his men, they won't be taken lightly at all, because they've been there before.
Yeah, and there is a certain amount of pressure on Rovers. Obviously, the Sparta Prague was going to be a tall order in terms of getting something in Prague, but they also have Shakhtar Donetsk and AEK Athens to come in their next couple of games in Europe. So this one feels like it needs to be a must-win if you're trying to get to that 7-point barrier.
Yeah, they definitely have to pick up something from it. And when you look at Shells, it's probably backloaded or front-loaded in terms of points you could get. And it's the other way around for Shamrock Rovers. They'd be looking at the end fixtures to maybe pick up their points. But just as Richie said, they were so good in that first leg over there in Celje, and Rovers kept it to 1-0. I think Leon Pauls was excellent that night to bring it back and win 3-1. Still a little bit of needle there where Albert Riera was the manager at the time. Had
good
a lot
manager,
to say.
very good.
Had a lot to say about Shamrock Rovers and the style of play as well, didn't he? I think that's probably pinned on your wall in the dressing room at the time for Rovers. But they were excellent in that game, Shamrock Rovers, and caught them on the counter-attack, caught them off guard. Probably won't be able to do that again, but Rovers have the players to go out and get something in this game, and they probably will need to pick up something in it.
Yeah, just on the Riera comments, it is a kind of cliche of the, it's pinned up on the dressing room wall. Was that actually brought up by Stephen at all at the time?
No, it wasn't. Stephen is always, we focus on what we do. But as players, you hear things, you see things, and you think, no, I'm not having that. And even when we went through, you could see it was a bit salty with him on the sideline. And as I said, some of his comments were, there's just no need for it, isn't there? Look, I know he's a Spanish player, and they play exactly like a Spanish team. They're a real possession-based team. They're very expansive, they are. But we could see the level that they were playing at, and we thought, we need to win at all costs, or we need to be a bit streetwise, and that's exactly what we done. And us at Shamrock Rovers, we were a heavily possession-based team as well. We love to dominate the ball, but sometimes you have to be smart when you go into games. And like what we spoke about with the Ireland national team, be a little bit more streetwise. We knew going over there we weren't going to dominate possession, and if we did try and do that, they would probably punish us and punish us badly. So we just knew we had to bring the tie back to Towell Stadium, and if we did, we'd always have a chance of going through.
Yeah, so that's an 8 o'clock kick-off on Thursday, and obviously you mentioned already Shelbourne are away at Shkendija, which is a 5:45 p.m. kick-off, so busy night for the League of Ireland sides in Europe. And that brings us to a close here. Just a reminder, the Eintracht Frankfurt versus Liverpool game is live on RT2 and the RT Player 7:30 on Wednesday, and then on Friday Ireland against Belgium in the Women's Nations League playoffs, and that will also be on the radio, RT2 FM, especially Extended Game On. And Barry and Richie, thanks for coming in this week, and we'll be back next week.